Hello, and welcome to a session of Centennial College at the library. If you're just joining us, you can find us at library.centennialcollege.ca. Today's theme will be plagiarism and academic integrity. Perhaps you have heard of some of these notable days: Christmas, Diwali, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Chinese New Year. Maybe you've asked yourself, what do they have to do with academic integrity? And the answer is not very much. But let's have a look at another day. Let's have a look at Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. The next occurrence of the day will be Monday, January 18th, 2021. I heard a rumor once that Dr. Martin Luther King was involved in plagiarism. Let's use the library's collections to find out. We've migrated over to the library's homepage. We can use some of our reference books to have a look at what Martin Luther King Jr. may or may not have been up to. Let's go to e-resources. We'll use this box to find a reference collection. We'll open up Credo Reference. Let's try Martin Luther King Jr. Here's one, an entry from the Encyclopedia of American Studies. Let's have a look. We can use Control F to search in the article itself. We'll search on the word plagiarism. Apparently there's no results. Perhaps the rumor was just that, a rumor. Perhaps it was an urban myth or fake news. Or maybe the article is too short to go into these obscure details. Let's look some more. Let's combine our ideas of Martin Luther King and plagiarism and see where it takes us. Here's another article from the Encyclopedia of the Contemporary World. Again, we can use Control F to search on our word plagiarism. Oh look, something came up. Let's read together. Besides these attacks on the King legacy and honor, there were concerns expressed in the 1980s over plagiarism, and this did lead to a formal inquiry in regards to his doctoral dissertation by Boston University, which concluded that almost a third of his work was taken from another student. Yet the university decided not to revoke his degree. It was also argued that many of his other writings and speeches received the benefit of literary assistance in the form of ghostwriters. Using the reference products is a way into different ideas and thoughts. Let's, however, advance the story and use the greater library collections to dig a little bit deeper. Let's do this by returning to the library's homepage. We'll use the initial search box, search the library collections, and try again. We'll reproduce the same search, Martin Luther King and plagiarism. We can scroll down and see what we find. Let's have a look at this fifth one in the list. Plagiarism by Martin Luther King affirmed by scholars. And here we have the complete short article. Let's have a look at what it says in more detail. We'll do that on a screenshot I have. You can read. A committee of scholars established by Boston University to investigate charges that the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. plagiarized significant portions of his doctoral dissertation has concluded that the document does contain substantial misappropriation of others' writings. We can read the following further a little bit. Claiborne Carson, a historian who is the director of the King Papers Project, published an initial report of the findings in the June 1991 issue of the Journal of American History. Here's one way we can explore this story further. If you read a short article, sometimes in this case, there's a reference to a much deeper and more exhaustive article. Let's have a look if we can find the Journal of American History in the collection. We'll return now to the library's website, and we'll look in a different program. We'll scroll down here to the full text journal list. This program allows us to find the full text of journals we're interested in. In this case, the Journal of American History. There are a few entries. Let's have a look here. Journal of American History, and we'll open up the Humanities International Complete Collection. It seems to have the requisite holdings. You can do a couple of things. You can browse individual issues, or we'll do what we're going to do and search within the publication. Let's jump back for a minute. Remember the original shorter article, and remember that the individual in question, the historian Claiborne Carson, and the Journal of American History. So we're at the journal, and now we're interested in the story by Carson. And we'll do a search like this. So Carson King plagiarism should produce the article in question. And indeed it does. Here we go. Martin Luther King Jr. as scholar, a re-examination of his theological writings. Let's open up the whole article. We could read through and discover many things, but the print is fairly small. We can increase it, or we could just use a screenshot I took of it. It's an excerpt from Carson's article. Let's read. King's formal academic work at Boston was guided by de Wolfe, who took over as King's advisor when Brightman died. A former minister himself, de Wolfe occasionally listened to King preach and appreciated his students' preaching abilities. He later judged King as, quote, a very good student, all business, a scholar's scholar, one digging deeply to work out and think through his philosophy of religion and life. But de Wolfe was a lax mentor who did not demand of King the analytical precision that might have prepared him for a career of scholarly writing. Even if de Woolf was not consciously aware of the plagiarized passages in King's essays, his obliviousness to them suggests that he asked little more of King than accurate explication and judicious synthesis. So you see how we've used the library's resources to take a story, a rumor in fact, and dig a little bit deeper and get a wider breadth of what was really going on. How can we steer clear of plagiarism? Well, as some might say, it starts with good citation practice. Let's try good citation practice in the form of a question and answer. Here is some original text written about the plagiarism of Dr. Martin Luther King. Our job, of course, is to paraphrase using APA. Let's read together the original passage. Some people responded with anger at King's professors at Crozer Theological Seminary and Boston University, where his dissertation included significant verbatim copying from Paul Tillich and other prominent theologians and philosophers. They claimed that the professors were racist for not having held a capable young black man to a higher standard. Now for the question. Is this paraphrase down below with APA style okay? Here is the paraphrase. Supporters of King claimed that the professors were racist for not having held a capable young black man to a higher standard, including the reference, Bloom, 2009, page 16. Is this paraphrase okay? Take a minute and decide. Indeed, this paraphrase is not acceptable. The meaning of paraphrase is simply taking the idea of another person while using your own words. In this case, the individual has taken the idea and the words from the original text. As you can see highlighted, there's no attempt in the paraphrase to include the words in quotation marks. It is simply copying without quoting from the original text. So indeed, this is not an acceptable paraphrase, no matter what style you're using. In the interest of good citation practice, there's always the publication manual. The publication manual of the American Psychological Association has, believe it or not, undergone a revision. We're now looking into the 7th edition in all of its 272 pages. As you might expect, this publication manual is available in the library. There are several copies. And with our new grab and go service, you can check one out today. Well, probably not today, but you can check it out in at least a couple of days. On the other hand, if 272 pages seems daunting, the library has shorter guides that'll help you out, such as Academic Writer. Let's have a look quickly where you can find it. Returning to the library's homepage, you can use the library guides to find the Academic Writer program. Scroll down, Library Guides. We'll use the alphabetical list, and we'll stop at APA style. Here you get access to Academic Writer. You also get access to these links that go through style formats for reference list and citation entries. Academic Writer. We won't open it, but On your own, you can see that Academic Writer has all things APA, but broken into small pieces. That'll be easier to work with. Now that we've investigated a couple of ways to get you on the road to good citation practice, and we've reviewed ways of utilizing the collection, in this case to verify the rumor about Martin Luther King Jr. and plagiarism, let's move on to a bigger idea. What is the IDAACC? Of course, we can learn more at academicintegrity.org, but this acronym is indeed a shortened version of the International Day of Action Against Contract Cheating, which, as you can see, is coming up on October 21st. That leads us to the next question. What is contract cheating? Something you might not be aware of, but the library has access to the Oxford English Dictionary through our online collections. You can access it, of course, in the same way that we access the other collections. And if you do that, and you go and you try to find something about contract cheating, there is no dictionary entries available, because perhaps contract cheating is something even more sinister than regular cheating. So we'll rely on the academicintegrity.org site to tell us about contract cheating, which they have here. Although it has been defined in different ways, contract cheating is best described as the outsourcing of student work to third parties. The library catalog, the library holdings, are filled with all kinds of things, including memoirs from former contract cheaters. On your own time, you can check it out. You can see what Mr. Tomar has to say about his past life in The Shadow Scholar, How I Made a Living Helping College Kids Cheat. While we take a minute to consider that idea, let's move on. Let's take the quiz. Take the quiz about contract cheating and its lesser lights, and win a free button while supplies last. Yes, just send me an email and I'll get the ball rolling. rsims@centennialcollege.ca, and you can win this Love in the Library button. Or, if you get a perfect score on our little quiz, you can win this rare and coveted button. Cheating is evil. Indeed, cheating is evil. So, take a minute to prepare, sharpen that pencil, get that eraser ready, get a piece of paper, and let's take the pulse of cheating or contract cheating awareness. Here we go. Question 1. Dr. Jane Goodall, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Dr. Chris Spence are A. Characters in a new Margaret Atwood novel. B. Individuals whose reputations and careers were damaged by their plagiarizing activities. C. Civil rights activists. D. Affiliated with the international charity Doctors Without Borders. I'll take a second to consider your answer.
That was easy.
Wait a minute. That was way too easy. Now the real quiz starts now. Question 1. In Canada, plagiarism is a crime under the Criminal Code. True or false? Well, we know that many bad things can happen if you're caught plagiarizing, but are they that bad? Really? We'll find out later. Question 2. Several websites are dedicated to offering essays for students on a wide variety of topics. It is permissible for a student to acquire or make use of these researched essays, as long as everything is properly cited and referenced, true or false. Well, good citation practice does start in a way with the publication manual, so why not, right? Question 3. Zac and Neil completed a series of 5 experiments. Unfortunately, the results of the 5th experiment were way off. Because they were satisfied with the first 4 experiments, the pair decided to disregard the results of the 5th experiment, chalking it up to a one-time anomaly. Is this cheating? Yes or no? Cheating. Sounds like a very harsh word for just stuffing the results of one bad experiment under the rug. But anyhow, let's move on. Question 4. Honor code is A. A cryptographic weapon used to thwart the Nazis in the Second World War. B. A pledge taken by students to conduct themselves in an ethical manner. C. The title of a movie starring Julia Roberts and Morgan Freeman. Well, I know where I'm going with this one. 5. Plagiarism is more serious in college than in high school. True or false? I think the answer is clear here. 6. It is Jill's final semester, and she wants to make some extra cash by selling her essays. Since the essays are her property, she is free to do what she likes with them. Is this plan okay? Yes or no? I think the key here lies in property rights, don't you? 7. If your professor asks you to write a 6-page essay, the reference list is a 6-page. True or false? Well, naturally, right? Question 8. Paper's owl, paper's helm, paper oak, paper's post are names of A. New municipal recycling initiatives. B. Paper product companies. C. Companies that write and sell essays to students. D. Forest conservation nonprofits. Well, this question reminds me that I have to step out to take out the recycling. Question 9. Ralph's abnormal psychology paper was coming due, and he was struggling to put pen to paper. While searching with Google, he came across a college help page sponsored by ProQuest. One of the writing tips read as follows: if you are short on time to deliver an academic work due to personal or other reasons, consider using the help of professional academic agencies. There is no shame in using the services of professionals when you are short on time. This advice was just what Ralph was looking for, since he had seen ProQuest in the library's online article collections. It seemed like a good idea. Is this helpful advice? Yes or no? I'll let you decide. Question 10. Is it okay to sell college essays as long as you specify that they may only be used for research notes? Yes or no? What's wrong with a good research note? I ask myself. 11. Pamela's world history professor offered students the chance to submit work early. The professor agreed to preview early submissions and offer suggestions. Students would then be allowed to make revisions and submit the revised paper for final grading. In reviewing Pamela's early submission, professor found a few paragraphs that were copied and pasted from other internet sources. Even though this was only an early submission, should Pamela have marks taken off for these acts of plagiarism when she submits her final copy with the plagiarized sections removed? Yes or no? I'm pretty sure I know what Pamela would say. Question 12. If you find a website that offers student essays at no charge or for a nominal fee, it is okay to turn them in as your own, or parts of them, because it is more like consensual sharing of ideas and information rather than blatant cheating, especially if you're already very familiar with the subject area. True or false? Question 13. Cheats and Geeks. Goblin threat. Murky misconduct. You quote it, you note it. R. A. R-rated B movies. B. Books that were ghostwritten. C. Interactive online plagiarism and academic honesty tutorials. D. Law and Order episodes. E. Headlines from the 1950s. Speaking of Law and Order, I have to go run a few past episodes. I love that show. Question 14. Iran was in a bind. Because of her heavy course load, she had forgotten about an assignment that was coming due. Fortunately, Jill had completed an almost identical assignment the previous semester. To help her out, Jill gave her a copy of the completed assignment to be used as research notes. There we have that research notes again. Iran was so grateful. Although she found time to do most of the work herself, she did borrow a couple of paragraphs from Jill's paper. As a conscientious student, Iran took the trouble to cite her use of Jill's paper for the sections she borrowed. Is this okay to do? Yes or no? Can't wait to find out what you think. Question 15. Cheating becomes easier as a student continues to cheat. True or false? Question 16. You may hand in a few parts of an essay that you find on the internet as long as you have read it, checked the accuracy of the sources and in-text citations, and carefully modified the borrowed parts to match the specific requirements of your assignment. True or false? Well, there's nothing like being thorough, right? Question 17. Keisha was a perfectionist in her executive office administration program. She prided herself on accuracy and attention to detail. With a healthy respect for statistics, facts, and getting it right, she poured her creative energy into repackaging the article's graphs, charts, and text into her own report with a style that really popped. Aware of the pitfalls of copy and pasting, this labor of love and style was sure to grab the attention of her professor. Is this okay to do? Yes or no? I don't know about you, but I'm really rooting for Keisha. Question 18. Dr. Chris Spence, former director of the Toronto District School Board, wrote an opinion column in the Toronto Star under the title, "Without School Sports, Everyone Loses." Unfortunately, he plagiarized most of the article. This discovery started a process in which he lost his job with an annual salary of $272,000. And now for the question. If you are writing a paper on a similar topic and decide to include some of the paragraphs that Dr. Chris Spence plagiarized in his article, you do not need to reference them because once something has been plagiarized, the fault of plagiarism does not extend to plagiarizing the plagiarizer. Now say that 4 times fast. Plagiarizing the plagiarizer. You get the idea. Is this statement in bold type true or false? Good news, we're nearly finished. Question 19. Is this a good idea? James, MBA writer. Hey, do you need help in getting this assignment done? Why, of course, I say. Final question. Number 20. If you see someone cheating, it is ethical to report it to a professor. Yes or no? Oh, let's take a minute and review your answers, and then we'll take up the questions. Okay, let's go. Fortunately, I have the questions printed in a Word document that we'll turn to now. Here we are. We're taking the International Day of Action Against Contract Cheating quiz. Let's review what we've done. Let's do so in a manner that's a little more engaging. Okay, question 1. In Canada, plagiarism is a crime under the criminal code. Let's highlight crime and criminal code. And the answer is, or, just kidding. Of course, as I said earlier, many bad things could possibly happen if you're caught plagiarizing or acting in an academically dishonest fashion, but no one's going to jail. The answer is false. Question 2. Several websites are dedicated to offering essays for students on a wide variety of topics. It is permissible for a student to acquire or make use of these research essays as long as everything is properly cited and referenced. As long as everything is properly referenced and cited. Well, this is a good point. We should always properly reference and cite things, but we should also do our own work. The answer is, of course, false. Let's change up the color for fun. We'll highlight stuff now. Zac and Neil completed a series of 5 experiments. Unfortunately, the results of the 5th experiment were way off. Because they were satisfied with the first 4 experiments, the pair decided to disregard the results of the 5th experiment, chalking it up to a one-time anomaly. Is this cheating? Well, cheating seems like a strong word. In this case, we have to ask ourselves, what should Zac and Neil do? Even if the 5th experiment was an anomaly, they should always try to account for it, writing about why it might be an anomaly. So the answer is, yes, this is a form of cheating. Let's scroll down and look at the next question. Oops. Number 4. Honor code is A, a cryptographic weapon used to thwart the Nazis in the Second World War. Oh, most definitely. Oops. Let's click yes for that one. Okay, not really. It is, of course, B, a pledge taken by students to conduct themselves in an ethical manner. The answer is B. Plagiarism, number 5. Plagiarism is more serious in college than in high school. Let's change our highlighter again. Intuitively, one might think so. Plagiarism is serious no matter where you are. The answer is false. Number 6. It is Jill's final semester, and she wants to make some extra cash by selling her essays. Since the essays are her property, she is free to do what she likes with them. Is this plan okay? Oh, no. This plan is definitely not okay. While they are Jill's property, Jill is writing for something else. She's writing for credit in a course, and that's a little bit different than simply selling goods and services. Question 7. If your professor asks you to write a 6-page essay, the reference list is the 6th page. Well, naturally, right? In fact, the answer is false. Unless your professor says otherwise, the reference list always appears on a separate page and is not included in the number of pages for your assignment. Moving on, question 8. Paper's owl, paper's helm, paper oak, paper's post are names of A. New municipal recycling initiatives. B. Paper product companies. C. Companies that write and sell essays to students. Well, of course, that's got to be it, right? Yes, indeed, it's C. Kind of an easy one, but you need a couple easy ones here and there. Question 9. Ralph's abnormal psychology paper was coming due, and he was struggling to put pen to paper. While searching with Google, he came across a college help page sponsored by ProQuest. One of the writing tips read as follows: if you are short on time to deliver an academic work due to personal or other reasons, consider using the help of professional academic writing agencies. There is no shame whatsoever in using the services of professionals when you are short on time. This advice was just what Ralph was looking for. Since he had seen ProQuest in the library's online article collections, it seemed like a good idea. Is this helpful advice? Yes or no? Well, believe it or not, this is something that actually did happen. This information did appear on a ProQuest website. However, once ProQuest was notified, it vanished in a blink of an eye. So this is no, not helpful advice. Question 10. It is okay to sell your college essays as long as you specify that they may only be used for research notes. The dreaded research notes. How often have I heard that before? And naturally, no, it is not okay. Make that in red. Absolutely no, not okay. Oops. Question 11. Pamela's world history professor offered students the chance to submit work early. The professor agreed to preview early submissions and offer suggestions. Students would then be allowed to make revisions and submit the revised paper for final grading. In reviewing Pamela's early submission, the professor found a few paragraphs that were copied and pasted from other internet sources. Even though this was only an early submission, should Pamela have marks taken off for these acts of plagiarism when she submits her final copy with the plagiarized sections removed? Yes or no? Let's take a minute to think about this. Only as an early submission. Why do we highlight that? Would you believe that this example happened to me when I was a teaching assistant at a university? A student came to me with this very situation. An early submission plagiarized parts of it. She was discovered. I asked the professor what should be done. He said we should take off a few marks. So yes, indeed, let's take off a few marks. After a few tears, the student also agreed that it was a good idea. Question 12. If you find a website that offers a student essay at no charge or for a nominal fee, it is okay to turn them in as your own, or parts of them, because it is more like consensual sharing of ideas and information rather than blatant cheating, especially if you're already very familiar with the subject. I think you can agree with me that we can just not do this. The answer is false. Question 13. Cheeks and Geeks, Goblin threat, Murky misconduct. You quote it, you note it. R. Yes, you guessed it. Interactive online plagiarism and academic honesty tutorials. Pat yourself on the back. Good job. Question 14. Haran was in a bind. Because of her heavy course load, she had forgotten about an assignment that was coming due. Fortunately, Jill had completed an almost identical assignment the previous semester. To help Haran out, Jill gave her a copy of the completed assignment to be used as research notes. Oh, there it is again, the good old research notes. Yes, research notes deserved an underline. Haran was so grateful. Although she found the time to do most of the work herself, she did borrow a couple of paragraphs from Jill's paper. As a conscientious student, Haran took the trouble to cite her use of Jill's paper for the sections she borrowed. Is this okay to do? Of course not. In any student paper situation, we can't do this with another's paper. Question 15. Cheating becomes easier as a student continues to cheat. It most certainly does. "16. You may hand in a few parts of an essay that you find on the internet as long as you have read it. Check the accuracy of the sources and in-text citations, and carefully modify the borrowed parts to match the specific requirements of your assignment." Well, despite this kind of thoroughness, that's just not a good idea. False indeed. 17. Keisha was a perfectionist in her executive office administration program. She prided herself on accuracy and attention to detail. With a healthy respect for her stats, facts, and getting it right, she poured her creative energy into repackaging. There we go. Repackaging in all the glitz and glam, the articles, graphs, charts, and texts into her own report with a style that really popped. Aware of the pitfalls of copy and pasting, this labor of love and style was sure to grab the attention of her professor. In terms of getting it right, oh dear, is this okay to do? Absolutely not. We're closing in on the end. We're finishing nearly off with Dr. Chris Spence. And let's see, why don't we put this in purple? Okay, so we've summarized a little bit about what happened to Mr. Spence, and indeed, plagiarizing the plagiarizer. If you're writing a paper on a similar topic and decide to include some of the paragraphs that Dr. Chris Spence plagiarized in his article, you do not need to reference them, because once something has been plagiarized, the fault of plagiarism does not extend to plagiarizing the plagiarist. Statement bold, true or false? It is indeed false. No matter where we obtain information, we must always cite it. "19. Is this a good idea? Talking to James, the MBA quote-unquote writer. Do you need help in getting that assignment done? Why, of course. However, let's steer clear of that contract cheater. Question 20. If you see someone cheating, it is ethical to report it to a professor. Yes or no?" I'll pause there and let you answer the question yourself. Now we've reached the end of our talk on academic integrity and plagiarism, with a shout out to the International Day of Action Against Contract Cheating. Thank you for joining me. I can be reached if you have questions at rsims@centennialcollege.ca. And best of luck. Cheers.